500 years ago, a man was tortured, exiled, and stripped of everything. From that ruin, he wrote a book so dangerous that the church banned it. That man was Niccolò Machiavelli. And the principles he left behind explain, with uncomfortable precision, why some people build empires while others stay stuck. This is not about being evil. It is about seeing the game for what it actually is. These are 10 Machiavellian principles for making money, and if you are honest with yourself while listening, at least one of them is going to hit you right in the chest. Principle number 1. Stop worshipping luck. Study the structure. In The Prince, Machiavelli argued that fortune controls roughly half of human affairs, but the other half is governed by skill, strategy, and decisive action. Most people surrender 100% to fortune. The winners fight for their half. Here is why you stay broke. You say must be nice when someone succeeds. You buy lottery tickets instead of building skills. You wait for the right time that never comes. You look at other people winning and you attribute their success entirely to privilege or luck, which conveniently excuses your own inaction. Here is why they get rich. They study what is actually working and reverse engineer it. They prepare aggressively so that when opportunity arrives, they are ready to seize it. They understand that luck favors the positioned. Machiavelli said it like this. Fortune is like a river that floods. It destroys everything in its path. But the wise man builds dams and channels in advance, so when the flood comes, its force is contained. So here is what you do. Stop auditing other people's advantages. Start auditing your own preparation. Ask yourself this one question. If the perfect opportunity showed up tomorrow, would I actually be ready? If the answer is no, that is your problem. Not luck. Principle number 2. Understand the world as it is, not as it should be. Machiavelli wrote, a man who wishes to act entirely up to his professions of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. He was the first political thinker to separate what is from what ought to be. And that distinction is the difference between people who make money and people who complain about not making money. Here is why you stay broke. You think hard work alone guarantees reward. You believe the market should value your passion. You refuse to learn sales because it feels manipulative. You ignore office politics and then wonder why less talented people get promoted above you. You think talking about money is shallow. Here is why they get rich. They learn the actual rules of the game, not the ones taught in school. They study persuasion, negotiation, leverage, and incentive structures. They accept that value is defined by the buyer, not the seller. They understand that visibility matters just as much as ability. The broke mindset says, I should not have to market myself, my work should speak for itself. The Machiavellian mindset says, great work that nobody sees is the same as work that does not exist. So here is what you do. Identify one uncomfortable truth about your industry or career that you have been avoiding. Maybe it is that your degree does not matter as much as you thought. Maybe it is that the person getting promoted over you is simply better at being seen. Whatever it is, face it this week. Reality is not your enemy. Delusion is. Principle number 3. Be a fox and a lion. Machiavelli wrote, a prince must know how to act like a beast. He must learn from both the fox and the lion, for the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot protect himself from wolves. The fox represents intelligence, cunning, and pattern recognition. The lion represents strength, boldness, and decisive force. You need both. Here is why you stay broke. You are all fox. You overthink, overplan, over-research, and never act. You have 47 browser tabs of business ideas open right now. Or maybe you are the opposite. You are all lion. You charge forward recklessly, burn cash on impulse, do not read contracts, and ignore red flags. Here is why they get rich. They research like a fox, then execute like a lion. They see the trap before they step in it. They know when to be patient and when to be aggressive. They negotiate softly but carry real leverage. Let me give you a real-world example. The fox reads the market and identifies that short-form video content is exploding. The lion actually starts posting, imperfectly, before the window closes. The broke person is still thinking about starting a channel. 3 years later, still thinking. So here is what you do. Whatever you have been researching for more than 30 days, set a 72-hour deadline to take the first real action. Not perfect action. Real action. Imperfect action beats perfect hesitation every single time. Principle number 4. Master the art of strategic reputation. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." He understood that perception is a tool, and it might be the most powerful one available to you. Here is why you stay broke. Your online presence is either invisible or chaotic. You undersell yourself in interviews and negotiations. You do not control your own narrative, so other people write it for you. You confuse humility with invisibility. You think staying quiet about your accomplishments makes you noble. It does not. It makes you forgettable. Here is why they get rich. They craft a deliberate personal brand. They position themselves as authorities before they feel ready. They understand that trust is a currency, and they invest in building it systematically. They share their wins strategically, not arrogantly, but intentionally. Now let me be clear about something. This is not about being fake. It is about being intentional. Machiavelli never said to lie about who you are. He said to control which truths are most visible. There is a massive difference between deception and curation. Every successful person you admire curates how they are perceived. So here is what you do. Go and search your own name online right now. What comes up? If it is empty, that is your brand and it is saying absolutely nothing. If it is messy, that is even worse. Fix it. Because whether you like it or not, people are going to look you up before they hire you, invest in you, or partner with you. Make sure what they find works in your favor. Principle number 5. Avoid the mercenary trap. This one is critical. Machiavelli despised mercenaries, hired soldiers with no loyalty who would fight for whoever paid them. He argued that relying on mercenary forces was one of the fastest paths to ruin. His advice was simple. Build your own army. Here is why you stay broke. Your entire income depends on one employer, which is a single point of failure. You spend years building someone else's platform but have none of your own. You outsource your most critical skills, your ability to sell, to create, to think strategically. All of your so-called assets belong to someone else's ecosystem. Here is why they get rich. They build things they own. Businesses, content libraries, intellectual property, audiences, equity. They develop core skills internally rather than depending entirely on others. They diversify income streams so no single entity controls their financial survival. They understand one brutal truth. If you can be replaced overnight, you have no real power. Think of it this way. Your job is a mercenary. It fights for you today, but it has no loyalty to you. The moment it is cheaper to replace you or eliminate your position, it will. This is not cynicism. This is pattern recognition. Every layoff in history proves this point. So here is what you do. Ask yourself one question. What do I own that makes money while I sleep? If the answer is nothing, that is your next project. It does not have to be a massive business on day one. It could be a digital product, a piece of content that generates leads, a small investment portfolio, a skill set so rare that you become irreplaceable. But you need to start building something that belongs to you. Principle number 6. Be strategically generous, never recklessly generous. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince who is generous in every way will soon be ruined." Now this is one of his most misunderstood principles. He was not against generosity. He was against undisciplined generosity, the kind that destroys your ability to be generous in the future. Here is why you stay broke. You say yes to every request for your time, your money, and your energy. You lend money to people who never pay it back, and then you feel guilty asking for it. You discount your services before anyone even asks you to. You give away your best work for free to people who do not value it. You confuse being liked with being respected. Here is why they get rich. They give strategically, directing their generosity where it builds real relationships, reputation, or leverage. They protect their resources so they can be generous when it truly matters. They understand that saying no is what makes their yes valuable. They know that depleting yourself helps no one. Here is the paradox that most people miss. The most generous people you know in the long run are the ones who protected their wealth first. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot fund a mission from an empty bank account. The airplane rule applies to money too. Put on your own oxygen mask first. So here is what you do. Identify one commitment, one subscription, or one relationship that is draining your resources with zero return. Cut it this week. I know that sounds harsh. It is not harsh. It is survival. Redirect that energy towards something that compounds. Principle number 7. Move before the crisis, not during it. Machiavelli wrote, "The Romans never allowed a trouble to grow in order to avoid a war, because they knew that wars are not avoided but only postponed to the advantage of others." Read that again. Problems do not disappear when you ignore them. They grow, and they grow in favor of whoever is on the other side. Here is why you stay broke. You wait until you are laid off to update your skills. You ignore debt until it is in collections. You do not have time to learn about investing until you are 50 and panicking about retirement. You avoid hard conversations about money with your partner until the relationship is already on fire. Here is why they get rich. They solve tomorrow's problems today. They skill up during employment, not after unemployment. They build emergency funds before emergencies. They have uncomfortable money conversations early, when the stakes are low and the options are many. They treat their financial life like a chess game, thinking 3 to 5 moves ahead. The Machiavellian principle here is simple. The cost of prevention is always lower than the cost of reaction. Always. $100 invested in learning a new skill today is cheaper than 6 months of unemployment tomorrow. A difficult conversation about a budget today is easier than a divorce filing next year. So here is what you do. What is the financial small fire in your life right now that you are pretending is not burning? You know exactly what it is. You thought about it just now. Handle it this week before it becomes an inferno. The discomfort of addressing it now is nothing compared to the devastation of addressing it later. Principle number 8. Study the masters, relentlessly. This principle comes from one of the most beautiful passages Machiavelli ever wrote. He described his evening routine like this. In the evening, I enter my study. At the door, I take off my muddy clothes and put on royal robes. Dressed appropriately, I enter the ancient courts of great men, where I am received warmly and fed on the only food I find nourishing, conversation with the great minds of the past. Machiavelli studied ancient Rome obsessively. He did not just read history. He interrogated it. He would mentally sit with great leaders, ask them questions, and extract principles that he could apply to his own situation. Here is why you stay broke. You consume content passively, scrolling endlessly without retaining anything. You read headlines but never books. You follow influencers but never seek actual mentors. You learn from people at your level instead of people 3 levels above you. Here is why they get rich. They study the actual biographies, letters, and decisions of people who built what they want to build. They do not just read, they extract principles and apply them immediately. They find mentors, whether in person or through books, who have already solved their specific problems. They treat learning as a professional discipline, not a casual hobby. There is a difference between entertainment and education. Scrolling social media for financial advice is entertainment. Sitting down with a biography of someone who built a billion-dollar company and taking notes on every decision they made, that is education. One makes you feel productive. The other actually makes you dangerous. So here is what you do. Pick one person who has built the financial life you want. Read their biography. Study their decisions. Extract 3 principles. Apply one of them this month. Not next month. This month. Principle number 9. It is better to be feared than loved. But in the context of money, it is better to be respected than liked. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved, if one of the two has to be lacking." This is the most misquoted line in political philosophy, and most people completely misunderstand it. He did not say be cruel. He said if you have to choose between people liking you and people taking you seriously, choose being taken seriously. Because people who like you will still underpay you. People who respect you will not. Here is why you stay broke. You accept lowball offers because you are afraid of conflict. You let clients pay late because you do not want to seem difficult. You avoid negotiating your salary because you want to appear grateful. You let business partners walk all over your boundaries because confrontation makes you uncomfortable. Here is why they get rich. They set clear terms and they enforce them. They walk away from bad deals even when it is painful in the moment. They understand that respect precedes opportunity. They know that people do not pay premium prices to people they do not take seriously. Here is the truth that nobody wants to hear. People who are afraid to lose the deal almost always get the worst deal. Your willingness to walk away is the strongest negotiating tool you will ever have. The moment someone realizes you need them more than they need you, your leverage evaporates. So here is what you do. The next time someone offers you below your worth, pause. Breathe. And counter. The discomfort of that moment lasts 10 seconds. The financial impact of accepting less than you deserve lasts for years. Sometimes decades. Choose the 10 seconds of discomfort. Principle number 10. Adapt or die. Machiavelli wrote, "He who adapts his course of action to the nature of the times will succeed, and he who sets his course of action against the times will fail." This might be the most important principle of all. Machiavelli observed that many leaders succeeded brilliantly and then failed spectacularly because they kept using the same strategies even after the world had changed around them. What made them great in one era made them obsolete in the next. And they could not see it because their identity was fused to their old strategy. Here is why you stay broke. You are loyal to a dying industry because it is comfortable. You refuse to learn new technology because you have gotten this far without it. You apply 2005 career strategies to a 2025 economy. The phrase "that is how I have always done it" is your operating system, and that operating system has not been updated in years. Here is why they get rich. They treat their strategy like software, constantly updating it. They abandon what stops working without emotional attachment. They move toward emerging opportunities while others cling to nostalgia. They understand that the market does not care about your comfort zone. It does not care about your experience. It does not care about what used to work. It only cares about what works now. Here is the final Machiavellian truth. The graveyard of broke people is filled with those who were right, for a time that had already passed. Being right yesterday counts for nothing if you are wrong today. So here is what you do. Ask yourself this question. What strategy am I running right now that worked 3 years ago but is not working anymore? Be honest. You probably already know the answer. Kill it. Replace it. The version of you that got you here is not the version that will get you there. Now let me leave you with this. Here is what most people get wrong about Machiavelli. They think he was teaching people to be ruthless. He was not. He was teaching people to be awake. The real division in this world is not between good people and bad people. It is between people who understand how the world actually works and people who wish it worked differently and stay paralyzed by that wish. The money is not going to the most moral or the most immoral. It is going to the most strategic, the most prepared, the most adaptable, the most honest with themselves about what it actually takes. Machiavelli lost everything. He was tortured, exiled, forgotten by the people he served. And from that exile, he wrote a book that would outlast every prince who ever ignored him. You might be in your own exile right now. Broke. Overlooked. Stuck. Good. That is where clarity lives. That is where strategy is born. That is where the person you are becoming starts to take shape. The question is not whether the game is fair. It never was. And waiting for it to become fair is just another way of staying broke. The real question is this. Now that you see the board clearly, what is your next move? If this changed the way you think, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And I will see you in the next one.